I won't say too little too late because I think that downplays the very necessary and nice enhancements that Samsung have made to the S23 Ultra. But I am going to say that the phone is a year too late. If this were the phone that they had given us to kind of reintroduce us to the S Pen and a note type device, I would have gone absolutely nuts. It's not that the S22 Ultra was a bad phone, far from it. Smooth performance, excellent display, great camera, all the rest of it. But the refinements that they've given the S23 Ultra take it to that next level. But because we had the S22 Ultra, because people put out all that money, and a lot of people got that device last year, and they really weren't giving you that incentive to upgrade this year, it kind of leaves me feeling nonplussed about this device. Make no mistake about it when we're going to talk about the things we're going to talk about with the S23 Ultra. This is the smoothest device I've used. I can't even tell you how it's in how long. Possibly the smoothest device I've used ever. It's that good. Whether that's the One UI 5.1 optimizations dialed in, whether it's the optimization and enhancements that they've made with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, there's a lot that went into this phone and a lot to like here, but you're paying $1,200. I want to make a quick note about the Samsung trade-ins because I got a couple comments saying, well, they've changed them back. Well, they sort of changed them back. They are giving you more money for some models of phones. Again, however, they've taken away that free upgrade where you got the 12 gigs and 512 gigs of storage essentially for the price of the base model, the $1,200 one. So yes, they are giving you a bit more, but they took away that promotion as well to kind of offset that. But for stuff like a Note 9, you're getting a lot more. I think you're getting 370, and there's a couple other ones on there that made sense. Not all of them, but some of them made sense. And S22 Ultra now is $100 more they'll give you, but that still doesn't cover the fact that they're charging $200 more. So you got to go on there and do some math and see if that one makes sense for you. Okay, battery life. By far the biggest enhancement, and what I've noticed over the course of the last week or so. 7+ hours of screen on time, easily get to the end of the day, no problems whatsoever. And that's important. That's important because that's really what we were missing. It was the biggest complaint with my S22 Ultra. I get horrible battery life on every device that I use. It wears in differently than some of the devices I'm used to, but it does hold up all day long. You can absolutely wail on it. You can do the GPS thing. I can't quite do the things that I do with my iPhone 14 Pro. I can't use 2 hours of turn-by-turn navigation and still have 8 hours of screen on time left, but I'm not really asking it to do that. I'm asking it to get through my entire day and then some and not have to worry about battery life. Not make decisions on whether I should run a 1080p, whether I should put it down to 1080p or not. Not whether I should decide whether to cut the refresh rate to 60 hertz or not. The brightness, what I do on the phone, gaming, video. Don't have to make compromises to get through the day and get 7+ hours of screen on time. And that's what I want. That's what I want in a flagship. If you're spending that kind of money, $1,200 plus, I want that. I want a compromise-free device. Not a device that, you know, if you're paying $600-700 for a device, there's a couple categories. You say, well, I got to game it here, I got to do a thing here, I got to change a thing here. None of that. If I'm paying this money, I don't want to have to change a thing about my usage pattern to get to the end of the day, and I don't. They've done that successfully. I like that. Display, we talked about it. Still excellent. Still a fantastic and punchy and bright Samsung panel. I don't necessarily agree with them turning down the saturation. I have noticed it. It's a little thing. You wouldn't really even notice it unless you were holding an S21 or an S22 Ultra side by side with your S23 Ultra. That's something that you'd pick up then. The purples are a little different. The saturation is a little different. I personally like a punchier display, but that's going to be personal preference. The build is where all these things that we've talked about in the past about giving a design a second year, giving a chance to say, you know what, we could save that money on research and development and go with something like this where we could spend that time refining a design that we already had and seeing what optimizations and things that little tweaks that we could do to make it that much better. They've done that. The flattened off edges, the flattened off display, just the way that the device feels in the hand, significantly better than the S22 Ultra, and that's just a small changes there, but they add up to a big deal. Performance-wise is really where I'm almost shocked, and this has to be a software optimization, unless you want to say that the Snapdragon Gen 8 or I'm sorry, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is that significantly better than the previous version. But I got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus in my Fold 4, and it's smooth. It'll get everything done, but this is buttery smooth. This is to the point where everything that you do feels like silk. There is nothing that I have relatively few hiccups, if any. I'm leaving animations on. Just everything that you want to do on this device is just as smooth as can be. Butter, no, it's incredible. It really is a great experience. That's what you'd want. And it kind of, at the same time, it kind of is tough for me to get excited about it because it's transactional with the S23 Ultra. You paid all the money for all the performance, and Samsung delivered. So you kind of had a little handshake. Nothing punches above its weight. You can't punch above its weight when the thing weighs that of an elephant. It's tough to punch above anything. You're already at the ceiling. But Samsung has come through with it. So, they can charge all that money, but you better come through. And so far, so good. Let's talk about the cameras, which, everybody's putting up those night shots. And I may do a night shot comparison with the OnePlus 11 because I think night shots is really good. It's kind of getting to the point where it's personal preference. Most of this camera stuff is subjective at this point, but I think that's where we land. But this is an image. I want to put this up because you have almost full brightness in the background. The top of the image, you can see that where the boats and the barges are. And that's not blown out at all. There's good detail there. But then the foreground, the water, that little sunken barge in the shadows, dusk, where there's kind of ambient lighting, but there's not really a lot, not enough to give it detail. It's able to process almost two different images there and come up and put it together in a coherent package that looks really good. So that wouldn't be the case before. You'd have a portion of the photo blown out, that top portion that's bright, where you could see the reflection of the sun. You'd get that blown out, and then it would kind of affect, it would make the front of the image darker because of that little bit of ambient light. None of that. So really impressed. I want to do more testing with the zooming because I'm not overly impressed with the 10X. And maybe that's because I'm using it wrong. And I got to figure that out. But I am impressed with the camera system on the S23 Ultra. And if you're buying a phone based on camera, there's a lot to be said about the versatility of this in comparison to the Pixel 7 Pro and an iPhone and all the rest. And the OnePlus, certainly. I like it. I love the laser autofocus. I love that that's back again. I love what they've done with this device overall. And the question becomes, is it worth it? Link will be in the description. If you're still excited, I'll say this. If you're somebody who is already buying a device, if you're coming from an S10, if you're coming from a Note 10 Plus, this is absolutely worth it. If you're somebody that keeps your device for a bunch of years in a row, you're going to love this as opposed to upgrading to perhaps a cheaper device because of the performance, because of the fact that you're going to get the updates, because of the fact you're going to get the new versions of Android. But because of how well it runs. And if they could maintain that through the years of support, this just kind of absolutely buttery smooth performance where you're hard-pressed to find any flaws, then you're in for something special. And if it's a net zero thing for you where you're already paying $30 a month with AT&T or $35 a month and you got a Next program and you're still going to be paying $30 a month but you get to trade it in or something like that, then do it. Then do it. It makes sense for you. If you're somebody that's coming from an S22 Ultra that's got to pony up $700+ don't do it. Don't do it because the difference is battery life and those things that we mentioned, which are nice, but it becomes that kind of math equation that you have to do. Is it $700 nicer? That becomes tougher. This is the phone to get if you're in the market for the top-of-the-line Android. I don't think there's going to be a whole heck of a lot of doubt about that. This is the phone to get. It's just a shame it didn't come out last year, because they got the S22 Ultra into so many hands, and this is a better device. It's a more refined device. It's the one I'm going to be using for the majority of the year. It's one that I absolutely love, but there's that kind of dampens your excitement because of the price, because of the fact that a lot of people have S22 Ultras, because of the fact that they're not giving you an out with your S22 Ultra to upgrade to an S23 Ultra. But overall, lots to love about this thing. Speakers are good. Everything that you'd want in this thing, I think, is really, really excellent. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-alicious day.